So if you've been on NBA Twitter or NBA TikTok recently, you've undoubtedly seen the whole "we're done with the 90s" trend, where a couple of internet geniuses have dug up some lowlights from the 90s, but mainly from Michael Jordan, and they've used that as ironclad evidence that the 90s was just a horrible generation for basketball.
Take that!
What is this? It's evidence. And how exactly does this prove anything? Well,
Look, obviously players are better today, everything progresses, but pulling up just a random clip of Jordan missing a layup, it's dishonest, and really it's lazy as hell.
Before we start talking about this whole done with the 90s trend, if you haven't already, make sure to leave this video a like, give us a subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on one of our videos. Now before we start on why this trend is happening, let's just put something to bed. The current era of NBA players are more talented than the players from the 90s, and it's not particularly close. I mean, trust me, there are things to not like about the current era. The overemphasis on offense, load management, the diminishing of the regular season, like, I get it. There's negatives to the modern day game. But from a pure talent perspective, it's not even remotely close.
I mean, imagine dropping like Dame, Paul George, Anthony Edwards. In that era, they're gonna be superstars just based on shooting alone. That's not really a knock on guys from the 90s though, because guys in the 90s, they had never seen that shooting before. This was before the three-point explosion.
Also, like, drop a guy like Kyrie in that era with his ball handling.
Ooh.
People are gonna think he's a goddamn wizard.
Yeah, they literally would.
And like you said, it's not a knock that modern day players are better than players from the 90s because we progress as a society. This is true for all sports, and it's true for a lot of things too. Like, you think the people who designed like the 95 Dodge Caravan are pissed that Teslas exist?
No shot.
And also to everyone who makes the argument like, well, the NBA was way more popular in the 90s. It's like, Jurassic World Dominion grossed over $1 billion. You wanna know a movie didn't gross over $1 billion? Oppenheimer.
8, 7.
I don't want to hear that argument. Just because something is more popular doesn't mean it's better. What's the most popular restaurant in the world? It's McDonald's. Does anyone think McDonald's is the highest quality food in the world?
Some people definitely do.
1 out of every 10 times you go there, it is.
It's amazing. But yeah, those Jurassic World movies were just straight mid. And you think like the guys that made the Sega Dreamcast are just punching the air because the PS5 is selling so well today. They really do not care.
And again, like, this isn't a knock to players that came before, but society progresses. We get better at everything. The game is more global now. The player pool is bigger. It's better, and that's okay. Now, the whole point of this trend has basically just been bringing up lowlights of 90s greats to, you know, show the warts of the era. And on one hand, I think it's kind of fair because social media wasn't around back then. You know, NBA games weren't as widely available. For example, the most national TV games the NBA ever showed in a year during Jordan's prime was only 55 games. For comparison, the NBA is going to broadcast 52 games from the time this video comes out to the end of the regular season. So games are just more widely available now. And, you know, for people who like us who didn't grow up in the 90s, you know, you've rarely seen its faults because it's always been painted as just the best the NBA ever was because it was such an influential and successful time. So to see what it was actually like, yeah, that's fine. On the other hand, you could do this for any game in any era.
Yeah, I feel bad for the old heads. Only 55 national TV games? Like, I'm checking every night for what the national TV game is, and they had to like circle a couple during the week. But like you said, you could do this with any game of any era. Let's take maybe the greatest basketball game of all time, Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals. Down the stretch of that game, sure, it's great defense, but they were just clanking shots. Steph Curry even tossed up that 1-3, greatest shooter of all time, Steph Curry, that missed everything.
And it's not like it was a bad look for him. It's a look he gets all the time, and everyone's like, that's a great shot for him. Doesn't even hit the rim. Also, nowadays, what's one of the most popular NBA segments we see on TV? It's Shaq to the Fool. Literally just low-light compilations. People acting like guys nowadays don't fuck up, don't make mistakes. They do it all the time.
People in the 2030s hating on LeBron, it's gonna be easy for them though. At least the people nowadays, they had to comb through that Jordan footage. They're just gonna search up Shaq to the Fool LeBron and just have everything to go off of. And really the only reason this is happening is because of the Jordan versus LeBron debate. And I gotta admit, as a guy who's on the LeBron side of that debate that's had to defend him for a decade now, seeing the Jordan fans squirm after just 3 days of trying trying to defend Tim. LeBron and his fans have been dealing with this for basically his entire career at this point.
I mean, yeah, LeBron has been called LaFraud, LaMickey, the Frozen One, just a long list of nicknames, and Jordan fans were bent out of shape by people calling him a right-hand merchant.
Yeah, for 3 days.
3 days!
I personally think it goes even a little deeper than that. I think this is a combination of like the age-old generation battle and also like player standing. Because like the generation thing, it's like, spoiler alert, most people think the stuff they grew up loving is the best, and it's gonna be really hard to change people's minds. Like us, for an example, we grew up playing like the Call of Duties of the early 2010s as kids. Like we have a ton of memories, staying up late with friends, grinding double XP weekends, getting excited as hell when the next map pack is revealed. And even to this day, like a lot of those games we grew up playing are our favorites of all time. Compare them to modern games like Fortnite, Valorant, Apex Legends, or hell, even like the modern Call of Duties. Are those games actually worse than the games we grew up playing, or do we just play the old games at a time where we were young and impressionable and we made great memories on those games that we're never going to be able to recreate on the newer stuff? The answer is probably somewhere in the middle, but I think you guys get my point. People tend to romanticize the stuff they grew up with as being a lot better than it actually was.
Oh yeah, that's completely true. Those Nuketown 24/7 weekends though, those went hard as hell. I don't know if anything could top that, but it's absolutely true. Every era is gonna think their music, their TV shows, whatever, now it's social media these days or whatever was the best, so I'm not really surprised this is happening, but like I said, it is nice to see a little bit of fight back from our generation after dealing with it for so damn long.
I mean, you got the newer generation who's all into TikTok, and then you got old heads like us be like, hey, remember when Vine was a thing though?
Exactly.
But like in the NBA, the older generation's gonna think theirs is the best. Our generation's gonna think ours is the best. And I hate to break it to you guys, but the next generation, they're gonna think theirs is the best. And then there's the second half of the equation, which I think is player standing. Now, I myself am not a player stan. I mean, I love Dame, but I don't tend to stan players. I tend to stan my own team. And I get, you know, standing is part of being an NBA fan. It's something that separates the NBA from other sports because it's such a superstar-driven league. But I mean, it's becoming obnoxious to the point because it's getting to be like political campaigns. Like fans of one player will work to tear down another rather than build their own guy up.
I mean, it's completely out of control on Twitter. Every damn player these days has a Muse account.
Literally.
Darvin Ham Muse, Jaime Jaquez Muse, like go on Basketball Reference, find a random player, search up his name and then Muse, and some random account with 3,000 followers would pop up.
Darvin Ham isn't even a player.
He's a damn coach.
He's a coach.
I am a bit of a player stan, like I'll admit it, I like my guys, I like LeBron, but you're completely right. It's completely out of control, and like the Steph versus LeBron fans especially, like it's been going on for years, it's been going on a lot this season, but over the past like 2 weeks have been a complete like civil war on NBA Twitter.
I was gonna say, I don't know what's gotten into them the past like week or so, because it's just all on my timeline is nonstop like, well, Steph never had a teammate like this, or, you know, LeBron missed the playoffs with this roster. I'm like, do you guys like have jobs?
No, they don't.
Do you guys have anything better to do with your time?
Nope.
I prayed for this and it happened.
Fuck you, I hate all of you.
We're turning from winter to spring. Like, get outside, go on a hike, do something. This whole trend of like, we're done with the 90s though, like it's just the brainchild of these two things. Like it's the old heads against the new generation, and then it's the old heads' best player against the new generation's best player. And I don't know about you, but I find this whole thing really fucking stupid.
Like we've said throughout the video, the game's gonna progress as time goes on. I think Kobe had like an interview where they asked him, is he better or Jordan or something? He was like, I don't really see it that way. I see it as like an extension. And that's really what it is. So the message to the old heads, your era was not as good as you remember. They couldn't shoot, really just straight up. You can't tell me that Ewing's Knicks, Stockton and Malone, their Jazz team, or even Jordan's Bulls are gonna dominate in the modern NBA. Just not gonna happen. So stop hating on everyone else. And to the new generation, our favorite players don't exist without Magic and Bird or Michael, or even before that back to damn near like Oscar and Elgin Baylor.
I was gonna say, to a lot of the new generation, your favorite player's favorite player is probably one of those old heads or plumbers that you're talking about on TikTok and Twitter. You gotta keep in mind, the NBA is not what it is today without them. In the 1970s, NBA Finals games were broadcast on tape delay. Think about that. on tape delay. Like, the NBA doesn't broadcast hundreds of national TV games every year if they didn't prove that they could be a roaring success in the 90s. Also, you're calling all the people from the 80s and 90s plumbers? Get ready in 20 or 30 years when everyone's calling Carmelo Anthony or Dwight Howard or Dwayne Wade plumbers, because it's gonna happen.
Imagine trying to defend the 2011 LeBron Finals loss when people think Dirk Nowitzki was just a straight up
A bum, yeah.
That's gonna happen.
People will be like, oh, Jason Kidd, Jason Terry. Wow, they were so washed by then. It's like,
you lost to Sean Marion, who shot with 2 hands. You kidding me?
you lost to 38-year-old Tim Duncan in 2014. Like, I get it. It's fun to compare across eras, but like, just be honest about it. Be honest about the flaws of the players. Like, don't get so defensive, so hostile. Like, I get it. It's fun to compare across areas, but at the end of the day, it's really difficult because it really is comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah, I'm a guy where I think LeBron's the GOAT, and if people think Jordan's the GOAT, that's completely fine.
That's fine.
But we gotta stop comparing across eras so much. If you want to have the LeBron versus Steph Civil War, I'm all for that, but comparing LeBron to a guy from the 60s is just pointless.
That's the video, guys. What do you think of this whole done with the 90s trend? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like, as it really does help us out. And while you're here, why not check out some of our other videos as well? And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.